Bless up, everyone, and welcome to Ancient Current Rastafari Roots and Culture. I have with me today the mastermind behind the sound, a musical chemist, one of the hottest producers out there, Yungg Trip.
Hey,
He's producing music and some videos for some of the biggest reggae artists like Kabaka Pyramid, Jadi Blackamore, Perfect Gitamani, and Busy Signal, to name a few. So welcome to Ancient Current, Yungg Trip. Thank you for being here.
hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. When I first met Yungg Trip, it was probably 15 years ago when I was living outside of Bellingham, Washington. And at the time, he was on a mission to put reggae music on the map in Northwest Washington. And he did. At that time, he was going by DJ Triple Crown as a part of Blest Coast Sound, as I understand. We'll circle around to this in a little bit. But I have to give him due credit, as well as Blest Coast Sound, for my exposure to live reggae music, Buju Banton, Culture, Midnight, Perfect, Windstrong, all these names that Yungg Trip as well as Blest Coast Sound would bring through. So, it's a great joy to have you here. I spoke with him maybe 10 years ago when I had a radio show, KSVR in Skagit Valley, Washington. And so now it's a joy to have you back here on Ancient Current in these times. So let's get started. So starting things out, Yungg Trip, you went from Bellingham, Washington, working with Blest Coast Sound, DJ and promoter, to living large in LA. What happened?
Well, it wasn't quite directly from Bellingham to LA. There was a lot in between.
Okay.
And living large is all our perspective, I like to think that, wherever we go, we live large, So, but yeah, there was a lot of, through our work with Blest Coast Sound, we had a weekly night at the Wild Buffalo, weekly reggae night. And we were lucky enough to have a crowd that was a mix of Islander, African, Caribbean, and Americans, and they all had a taste of reggae music, and we come through the Caribbean thing, but we're also exposed to like Pacific Island reggae, African reggae, Afrobeat, which was kind of emerging at the time. So we had the opportunity to have a good crowd who were really receptive to whoever we brought through. So we had people come through, whether it be Perfect, Protege, Gappy Ranks, Chucky Star, Clinton Farron, all sorts of everything, the whole spectrum, and people were loving it. And of course, Bobby Hustle, I would be remiss not to drop his name, because he was really starting his whole journey around the same time, so we got to grow a lot together. And then so with that, we got to tour quite a bit, so we saw the whole West Coast in LA. And I just knew that, eventually I was going to make the move to LA, and start producing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what amazes me about you, Yungg Trip, is you're proving to be unstoppable. So you've been on this journey for enough time and you just keep going. A current theme I see in your social media is be yourself. And can you talk a little bit about that and how it's gotten you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think it's just the climate of where we're at, just culturally here in the States, I guess the inspiration has really been the youth, and that kind of has its roots in Bellingham. What I found is that maybe when I was coming up, there was musical purists who were only listening to reggae, or maybe only listen to roots, or only listen to dancehall, only listen to backpack hip hop, only listen to trap or pop or whatever, And what I find is that the youth especially becoming more universal and not necessarily living by those codes, and you notice that there's like a whole freedom with that, so I just took a slice of that for myself. And you just, as an artist, you just want to make your art known, whatever medium it is, you just want to make sure your personality or spirituality or whatever comes through that. So it's all like this day and age, it's all about being yourself. It's like everything has become a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy and of a copy. And really the biggest like evolutions and revolutions in music and art is when someone does something different. It's like you see something for the first time, hear it for the first time. So it's like really trying to embrace that, you know. It's like, all right, cool. I love reggae, I love dance hall. I can emulate this and that, but like, where's my sound? You know, how does
Mm,
that translate through it? And really, it's all about just being your most authentic, true self. You know, we don't watch nothing. You know, so
yeah, man. That's beautiful. That was something I was going to bring up. You're multi-genre. Not only are you reggae and dancehall, but you're producing all sorts of music, right?
mhm.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, yep. And that's just an evolution of being a DJ first and foremost. You know, and then
Okay.
being a DJ is an evolution of having your parents' records. You know, so like my father
Yep.
was like an avid record collector, so it was like soul music, funk, jazz, and even some reggae too, you know. So, and then, you know, I grew up in like hip hop. You know, my love of hip hop is really like 90s hip hop, you know, which was based on all those previously mentioned records, you know. So it's
That's
hard to just
great.
fit in one box when really your first love is all these different things.
That's
So,
beautiful. I had a similar but different exposure as a youth. My mom was a DJ, so to speak, on a community radio station, and it was a
mhm,
folk, but folk is like people of the world. It's all sorts of genres. And so as a youth, I'd go to the radio station with her and read the PSAs and get to have a little, play a little bit of music. And
mhm.
my parents had massive vinyl collections, and I'd stand up on the chair and stuff. So I feel you and I hear you, and I think it's
The apple
beautiful. Just
don't fall far from the tree, does it?
that's
Look
right.
at you
Yeah,
now.
that's right. Yeah. So, what has been one of your most outstanding experiences working with so many great reggae artists or great artists in general?
Whew, that's that's interesting. It's hard to say one experience per
Okay.
se, but one of my favorite experiences that I've been blessed to see multiple times is like there comes a point where artists does what they do regionally, and then the glow up, being there for the glow up for a lot of different artists and including myself has really been probably my favorite experience. You know, when you see
Mm,
someone come from the UK to the States for the first time, or from the States to festivals in Europe, or a DJ may come from Canada and play in the States for their first time, and that whole excitement of doing something new and for the first time is a great thing to be a part of, you know. And I can't say like one artist is more favorite than the other, but that's probably like my favorite experience, you know, within the entertainment industry, you know, with being there for the glow up, you know, because oftentimes we just see it afterwards. We don't know the hard work. We don't know the investments of time and money and what it takes to get your visa to even go
yeah.
perform. So once you see all that come together and like an artist has a big tune and a reason to be somewhere, you know, it's a whole different experience. And I really enjoy that quite a bit.
Oh, that's nice. So, tell me about coming from DJ Triple Crown and moving into Young Trip. What was the transition with the name there, and maybe the works that you were doing?
Well, there's a few things. One, DJ Triple Crown itself is referencing the line of kings from Solomon, you know? So it was a very Rasta thing. It was just that was just the space that I was in at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I said before, I listen to all sorts of music and everything like that. So I one, it was like I wanted to branch out musically. I wanted to do different things. I wanted to do EDM. I wanted to do trap, and all that sometimes doesn't align with Rasta. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to just make sure that I wasn't being disrespectful or you know, it's like you're playing certain types of music, you know, and that just does not necessarily represent Rasta, although it may
Sure.
you know, in some regard, but I just wanted to keep that sacred, you know. So and then you know, I was producing like EDM. I did my first EDM track, which was is a song with Bounty Killer called Murderer. And,
Mm,
you know, it was kind of a bad man tune, you know, and it just didn't reflect like Blessed Coast, you know, and DJ
sure.
Triple Crown and this different things that we're representing. So I put it out as like a joke under the alias Yungg Trip. And
Mm,
that song in 1 week did bigger numbers and got played more and got more support than like kind of everything that I've been doing in the past decade combined, you know.
wow.
So I was like, okay, this is getting the most support. So I just kind of ran with it and then never really changed the name, you know.
Mm.
So,
Well, it fits in the way that you've expanded to all these different genres, and that you're flexible and you're able to put out all sorts of different music. So that is awesome. And one thing, I just have a question. Can you explain producing music? Like, how does that work? It blows my mind.
I think these days it's based on the person, what they're doing, like producing music. I think back in the day would be, so it'd be the mechanical aspects of making a song sound the way it does. So producing to me is like you're curating the instrumental, you have a hand in curating the way the artist is delivering it and recording it, and you're mixing all those things together, like literally on the board, mixing and mastering. That is like really producing. But now production, being a music producer could just be making beats at your crib and sending them to artists, is like a producer. A producer could also be someone who's connected to an artist over here and a beat maker over here, and hears this voice on this beat and puts it together, and they maybe send the artist to the studio. That is also a producer. Some people might call it as an executive producer, but it's also, a music producer same way. So
are you doing all of that, like all of the above?
I do everything. Yeah, I play a lot of instruments. So like most of the tracks that I do is me playing every instrument. A lot of tracks are me in the studio being the recording engineer when the vocalist is there putting their vocals to the track, and then it's me mixing the vocals and the beat together and then mastering it. So yeah, that's what I do. But
that's awesome. That's one thing why I wanted to speak with you and highlight you, because I think so often people hear the artist, or they hear the lyrical, the person in the front singing, but like you forget what is happening behind the scenes, especially if you're not seeing live music, especially if it's produced music. I know personally, sometimes I can just rock to what's happening, but I don't even think about you and everything that goes into the background. So I think it's really fascinating, and I'm glad to have you share this a little bit. Tell me about Flex Up Crew. What's going on with that?
Well, Flex Up Crew started off as a DJ collective centered around an emerging genre at the time, which we were calling future dancehall, which was very similar to what like Moombahton, the Latin genre Moombahton, but kind of with dancehall and Caribbean lyrics. So it was like a collective of producers, and we did a lot of shows, a lot of collabs and everything like that. My first 2 EPs were on that record label, and they're based in Italy. And since that, like they've kind of taken the sound in that the sound is like grown into a whole thing that's like big in Europe. So they really have their glow up as like a record label, and a lot of us have gone to do different things since then. A lot of us still rock with them, So
okay. And now, is Blest Coast Sound still in action? Are you still a part of that, or has that faded out?
Nope, still a part of Blest Coast. For sure. Man, just cut some dub plates for the Blest Coast box, past couple of weeks. Ryan and Lion Eyes are still doing their thing. Both of them doing shows, both of them doing radio engagements and things like that.
Nice. Okay. I didn't realize that was all still going on. Good. That's great. So as far as I understand, you are producing film now, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Got my hands all in that. That's like been part of the evolution of moving to LA, is the long-term goal is also to be able to produce and direct a physical or a visual component to the music as well. So a lot of times when I'm making music now, I think about visuals that I want the end result to be. So much like music, it's just starting from square one, started taking like some production assistant gigs, moved up to assistant directing, really learn the trade and the lingo and work with some great directors. And now it's just getting to the point where, okay, now I can direct like my own things that I'm working on,
Oh, nice. I could see you being really good at that, considering seeing the musical content you've put out. I could see your mind shifting easily to film and everything that goes into that. So I look forward to watching out for what's up ahead for you. Is there anything else you want to share? And also with that, can you share where people can find you online?
Yeah. Well, what I would like to share is the new project that I like. A lot of my focus that you're going to see over the next few months is this project with Blackamore. It's a
See?
collaborative album called Full Spectrum. There's like 14 to 15 tracks on it, so like a proper full-length album that I produced the whole thing. Blackamore is the only vocalist, and
Nice.
that's like my real passion project, you know. And thankfully I've been able to work with a lot of great artists like Kabaka, Busy, Perfect, Bobby Hustle, and things like that, who have been able to develop me as a producer. So, you know,
Oh,
it's like kind of got the momentum going, you know. So
that's cool to see it in that way, how you're saying they have helped to develop you as a producer, like seeing how iron sharpens iron, how you're receiving and learning and growing, even though you're putting things out for them, it's coming back. That's really neat.
yeah, and all of them have been really, really influential and supportive, you know, because maybe at the beginning I was just making beats, you know, and then it's like, you know, Bobby Hustle would be like, yo, you're a good guitar, you should add more of this guitar into it, like you should do this, you should, you know, tighten up the, you know, they're preparing me to be a producer, you know.
Oh,
And same way
cool.
with like Perfect Gitamani, you know, he's worked with iconic studios in reggae music and things like that, and all sorts of bands and producers and musicians. So he was able to see in me what I didn't know was possible yet, you know. So he's pushing you to like just be better and better and better, you know. And then here we are now, you know. So
Wow.
these guys are prepping me to be a producer. And same with Blackamore, you know, he's like, yo, experiment with different genres here, different that, this and that, you know. So
That's great. It's
yeah.
really neat to see. Here we are, coast to coast. I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast, and now some of these people, you know, are coming through here. And you know, the next day I see like you're putting something out with Perfect or with Blackamore, you know. So it's beautiful to see how this country is big, but yet it's small too. So
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so where can people locate you online and your spelling?
Well, the spelling is YUNGGTRIP, and you can do youngtrip.com, YUNGGTRIP.com, and that's got links to all my socials, all my music videos, and then you know, Yungg Trip Official on most platforms like Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and things like that. But yeah, the website just has everything, and it's got the directions to everywhere. So
wonderful. All roads lead to Yungg Trip.
yeah.
All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to Ancient Current. We are holding a vibe with Yungg Trip.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Likewise.
Yes, blessed love.
All right, bless up.